everywhere.
That sounds like a pretty staggered approach. Good afternoon, everybody. There you go. We're trying to wake everybody up. We're going to have a pretty exciting discussion. Today's topic is energy efficiency, building successful teams, and strategic partnerships. This is part of our 6-part series of what we call the Entrepreneurial Bootcamp that is hosted by the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering. It is hosted by iCLEAN. iCLEAN is the incubator that's funded by the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. And we also have support from New Energy New York and the Clean Energy Alliance, as well as NSF, the National Science Foundation's Partnership for Initiative program that supports these bootcamp series. I'd rather go directly into the discussion session and start to get our panelists all geared up to be interactive with you guys. As some of you know, some of you have actually attended this event previously. Just to explain a couple of really quick logistics. We'll have a small discussion on energy efficiency to begin with in partnerships related to that. And that will be followed by our panelists who are going to talk about their involvement and what they do in the energy efficiency space, what the opportunities are, and the kind of activities that they're currently involved with. And then we'll leave the question and answer session to after everybody's done talking. And the intention is to make it very interactive and hopefully try to answer questions that the audience has, or any comments that the audience might have. We'll try to talk about that as well. Energy efficiency, in fact, I was talking with the panelists earlier, is looked at as the low-hanging fruit, if you will, for making advances and improvements in our energy delivery system, not just in this country, but everywhere else. And we're going to hear about more about that from our panelists, but I'm not going to try to explain any of that stuff right now myself. We have the experts here. First, I'd like to get Bob Kennedy to get up and talk a little bit about the energy efficiency space, as I said. Bob is the Director of Energy Services at EYP Architecture and Engineers. They're one of our key partners. They're actually located here on site, and we work very closely with them on a lot of projects that are energy efficiency related. Bob is charged with delivering comprehensive energy consulting services that reduce energy consumption, lower costs, and improve performance. Prior to joining EYP, Bob managed the East Coast operations for a large performance contractor for energy efficiency, of course. There he was responsible for the analysis, design, financing, and construction of over $100 million worth of comprehensive energy upgrades, primarily for colleges and universities, hospitals, and government facilities. He has directly been involved in installing over 20,000 tons of cooling systems, 500 plus variable speed drives, upgrades to over 250,000 light fixtures, and over 15 million in control systems. Big numbers. During the past 15 years, Bob has had ongoing involvement with several large university campuses in support of their energy and operational efforts. I know he's also involved with the main campus here, the University of Albany main campus. Bob has been published in several energy and planning journals and is a frequent speaker on financing various energy conservation measures, methods, and strategies. Bob, all yours.
Okay, good afternoon. So we have a nice group here. I've sat in the audience for a number of these sessions, so I get to take the other side for this session. As Pradeep said, I've been involved in energy efficiency and conservation for a long time. With EYP in the last number of years, it's been nice to be able to make buildings more efficient before they get built, so I don't have to fix them after they're built incorrectly anymore. So that's a nice part of what we do. The goal of the opening session here really is to kind of set the stage for some of the issues that arise in energy efficiency, particularly with an orientation towards high technology. A lot of you involved in developing different technology and how we may put that into buildings, either in new buildings, retrofit, et cetera. So my goal is to bring up a few issues and maybe a little rabble-rouser and come up with some of the topics that we can cover as we go through here. So I want to start off by talking about some of the drivers, and these affect building owners, but also from a perspective of a professional design firm. We architects, engineers, design new buildings, we make renovations as well. So as we look at energy efficiency, it's something our clients want. So there are drivers that we want to provide a high quality of services to our clients. One of our challenges is to make sure that we use new innovative technology to try to stay on the leading edge of our business in the marketplace. There's a lot of competitors out there. We want to make sure we get picked and do a great job and get the next job. We also have a lot of clients that, in addition to reducing their operating costs, they want to be green for a variety of reasons. Many of you are familiar with LEED, the certification, sort of a green certification for buildings. Energy is just one part of that, by the way. There's a lot of sustainability elements in using recycled materials, recycling during the construction process, public transportation. There's a whole range of things besides energy. But energy is an important piece of that. And I think one thing that's been very positive over the last few years is that the issue of being green is now being socially responsible. Many of our clients are looking to be green because it's the right thing to do, and energy is a big part of that. As most of you are aware, most energy sources create pollution. There are some that don't, and that's great. So those are things that are good for our business. And one of the more interesting drivers recently, this is the cost of oil. Lately it's gone up dramatically, so this is a good thing for people who are promoting energy efficiency or have alternate technologies, renewable energy. I see a couple smiles of some folks in this room here, some of whom I know. So this is a good thing. This is a catalyst. So even for people who aren't doing energy efficiency or innovative technologies to be green, there's the almighty buck. So the goal is to have the energy efficiency improvements or alternate technologies have a good payback. That's your best sales tool if it's out there for you. So the good driver here that's happening recently, and whatever the political issues are, this is the reality, the impact it creates. A few things that we as a design firm face as we look at buildings and designing them in the future. We need, and we're always searching for materials, technologies that will allow us to do better than what's out there currently. One of the keys is to create the value to the building. A developer, owner, a tenant, each of those has different motivations. Developers tend sometimes not to build the highest quality building with the most exotic, innovative energy technologies because they build it, they lease it, and then they sell it or flip it. So many developers don't have a long-term perspective on buildings. So ideally, if you're looking to work with someone who you want to invest in a longer-term energy technology, chances are an owner-occupied building is going to be a more likely path. And then tenants in commercial buildings tend not to pay their own bills. It's a pass-through. So those are issues. One of the things that we face as we look at technology in buildings is that we have to deal with the cost premium of any technologies that we put into the building. Every client wants a nice looking building, they want nice entrances, they want good light in the building. There's a whole range of things. So as we look at energy efficiency, we want to build it in from the ground up by building the right building, orienting it correctly, proper glazing, proper shading, all those things are great. And then we also want to do things that have high performance, energy efficiency, lighting, HVAC system, those kinds of things. But all those expenses where there's a premium, they have to compete against the program for the building. Because people want to have certain social spaces in the building, they want to have the building be functional. The energy efficiency isn't quite as visible sometimes as the oak trim or the terrazzo floors. The other challenge that we face in designing building and building buildings is timelines. Unfortunately, in many cases, when we get an authorization to do a building, we have limited budgets to actually do the design work, limited timeline to get the construction done as well. And that is a challenge that we face. So some issues, other issues, I put the word liability up there. We as designers of buildings, we are targets of lawsuits at times. So one of the challenges that we look at incorporating newer technologies is to make sure that we have a track record or some proven credible source that says Yes, we're using good judgment when we're applying a new technology to a building, whether it's a new material, a new technique, different control system, what have you. So that we need to make sure that we can stand behind a question that comes up years after a building is built, and someone said, well, why did you do that? Were you using the best judgment when you incorporated that into a building? So we need your help with new technologies to make sure that we can stand behind those recommendations. To do that, then, we recommend everybody get independent testing, credible performance, work on longevity testing. We had a discussion before getting together here, and the need for UL listing. Sometimes people don't understand that for electrical items. So anything that we need to incorporate into the building, we would love to have independent testing of and a way to back up our judgment to recommend them to a building owner. The other thing that we face with budgets is the risk of value engineering at the last minute. For those who've never been through value engineering, it's the joke is that when the value is engineered out of the project. So if you're facing a budget and you've put in some nice things to save energy and the budget's tight at the last minute, some of those things tend to disappear. So it's unfortunate, but it's a reality. So some of the other technology issues that we face, some clean energy systems and installing things into buildings, there's a domino effect. I just want to touch on a couple of examples. We see some buildings with wind turbines going up in a building. Good stuff, it probably creates some savings. It's probably driven more by people who want to be green and have an appearance of doing renewable energy than the pure economics for wind. And I'm not downplaying at all, but if you want to put a wind turbine in the building, there are certain structural things that have to be taken care of. There's vibration issues related to it, there's aesthetics, there's permitting. These are all things that are realities in dealing with putting renewable energy on a building. Same thing with solar PV panels. There's structural issues, weight loads, aesthetics, interconnection to the grid. These are not reasons not to do it, but they're just issues that have to be dealt with in going forward. So where do we go from here in trying to get things into buildings? We encourage you, as you have new technology, to make sure that you have a technology that has a value proposition and you understand that proposition. Through the connection with Pradeep, we've met with a few sort of inventors and developers, and they're excited about the technology they have, and it may be great technology, but when we talk to people about what value does it create for a building owner or the tenant in the building, sometimes it's not easy to say that even though this technology is great, what kind of a payback or what kind of a benefit it's going to create for the building owner. So it's important to understand what the benefit is given rate structures, given lease structures for multi-tenant buildings, etc. Touched on the validation testing, very important, so we understand and we have good credibility behind any recommendations to put a protective technology in a building. Another key thing, find early adopters or integrators. Some of the technology that we've seen get developed sometimes is difficult to employ into a building as a standalone. And I know you'll hear from one developer today that has technology that has to be applied to glass. And I think it's great to work with different manufacturers. So if you have a technology that can't be employed directly by itself, try to incorporate it or package it with somebody that can then bring that credibility in testing and make us or a building owner more comfortable to have it. Then, of course, credible financing and backing for warranties and service. For those that were here last time, there was a fairly lively discussion about the warranty backing behind photovoltaic panels and the apparent difficulty of getting a long-term warranty coverage for something like that. So those are some of the issues, and hopefully this will help generate some of the topics for discussion as we go forward here today.
Thank you, Bob. That was a great introductory discussion, obviously. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Next speaker is Steve Fisher, who is currently the president of Nexion Energy Solutions, a startup company organized to commercialize revolutionary film technology that will provide advanced architectural benefits along with significant energy efficiency performance. In 2006, Steve joined up with Primal Fernando, who is here as well, to develop, deploy, and commercialize a variety of new advanced energy-efficient optical and fenestration-related products utilizing thin film, liquid crystal, and nanotechnology manufacturing. Mr. Fisher brings extensive experience in large-scale development of advanced hardware and software products, along with many years of operational management. Prior to founding Nexion, Steve spent over 32 years in various product design, development, and management roles with IBM. Steve.